Queen Elsa of the Zentari Empire stood at the crystalline window of her palace, her iridescent scales catching the light of 3 suns. Behind her, the 15th nanny in 2 months cowered near the doorway, belongings already packed. "Your Majesty, please, I only suggested that perhaps Princess Lyra needs structure, not out." Elsa's voice carried the weight of 1,000 conquered worlds. "Before I have you exiled to the mining colonies." The nanny fled, leaving Elsa alone with her thoughts and the distant sound of something crashing in the royal nursery. Again, her daughter, barely 3 cycles old, had driven away every caretaker in the quadrant. The nobles whispered that the princess had inherited her mother's fire, but none of her control. Elsa closed her eyes. Being the youngest queen in Zentari history meant proving herself every single day. Showing weakness was not an option. But her daughter was breaking her heart, one destroyed nursery at a time. "Your Majesty?" A gentle voice interrupted her thoughts. She turned to find Nick, the human janitor, standing in the doorway with his cleaning cart. He was an oddity in the palace. Humans were rare in this sector, and most served in military or diplomatic roles. But Nick had applied for janitorial work 2 years ago, claiming he needed something quiet after losing his wife. "The hallway outside the nursery needs attention," Elsa said dismissively. The nanny knocked over a vase in her haste to escape. Nick nodded, but he didn't move. "Respectfully, Your Majesty, I couldn't help but overhear. 15 nannies is a lot." Elsa's scales flared with warning colors. "Are you criticizing my daughter?" "No, ma'am." Nick's brown eyes held something she rarely saw directed at her, genuine concern, not fear. "I'm criticizing the nannies. They don't understand what she needs. And you do?" Elsa's tone was ice. "You, a janitor who mops floors?" "I do," Nick said simply. "Because I raised my daughter alone after her mother died. And she went through a phase just like Princess Lyra's." Elsa studied him. She knew Nick had a daughter, had seen him leave every evening with lunch containers and a worn bag of toys. But she had never considered that a human, especially one of such low station, might understand her struggles. "My daughter destroyed 3 nurseries this week," Elsa said quietly. "She screams when anyone tries to hold her. She throws things. The psychologists say she's acting out because she feels abandoned, but I cannot abandon my empire to coddle a child." Nick stepped closer, his posture respectful but unafraid. "Your Majesty, may I spend 1 hour with the princess? Just to try something." Every instinct told Elsa to refuse, but those same instincts had failed her 15 times. What did she have to lose? 1 hour, she agreed. "But if she's harmed in any way—" "I have a daughter of my own, Your Majesty." "I understand." Elsa led him to the nursery where Princess Lyra sat amid the ruins of her latest tantrum. Toys lay shattered across the floor. The walls bore scorch marks from her developing energy abilities. And in the center of it all sat a small Zentari child with her mother's scales and her father's, the late king's, golden eyes. Lyra looked up as they entered, her small face defiant. Nick knelt down, putting himself at eye level with the princess. He didn't reach for her or speak in the high-pitched voice most adults used with children. Instead, he simply started picking up toys. "Your Majesty," he said over his shoulder, "would you mind sitting over there? Where she can see you, but you're not hovering." Elsa bristled at the instruction but complied, settling onto a cushioned bench near the window. She watched as Nick continued cleaning, humming a simple melody under his breath. Lyra watched him too, her defiance slowly shifting to curiosity. "You made quite a mess," Nick observed casually, holding up a broken puzzle. "I bet this was a nice puzzle before." Lyra's lower lip trembled. It was stupid. Maybe. Or maybe it was too easy for someone as smart as you. Nick set it aside and picked up the electronic tablet, still intact. "What about this?" "Boring." But Lyra moved closer, drawn by his calm presence. "Fair enough. You know what my daughter liked when she was about your age? Building things just to knock them down. Made her feel powerful." He started stacking blocks, but the trick was she had to build them herself first. Made the knocking down more satisfying. Lyra watched as Nick built a simple tower, then gestured to it. "Want to try?" The princess hesitated, glancing at her mother. Elsa forced herself to remain still, to simply observe. Lyra built a tower. It was crooked and unstable, but it was hers. And when she knocked it down, she laughed, a sound Elsa hadn't heard in weeks. "Again," Lyra demanded. "Sure," Nick agreed. But this time maybe we build it together? I'll do the bottom, you do the top. They built and destroyed towers for 20 minutes. Then Nick pulled out his tablet and showed Lyra pictures of his own daughter, Rosa. He talked about how Rosa had been angry after her mother died, how she'd thrown things and screamed because she didn't have the words for her pain. Your mama loves you very much, Nick said gently. But she has a whole empire to take care of. That's scary for both of you. Lyra looked at Elsa, really looked at her. Mama sad? Elsa felt her throat tighten. Yes, darling. Mama is very sad sometimes, because of me. No. Elsa moved from the bench, kneeling beside Nick and her daughter. Because I miss you, even when you're right here. Because I want to be with you more, but I don't know how. Lyra climbed into her mother's lap, and for the first time in months, she didn't squirm away. She just sat there, small and warm and perfect. Nick stood quietly. I'll leave you two alone. Wait. Elsa looked up at him, this human who had solved in an hour what trained professionals couldn't fix in months. What would you say to a position change? Royal Childcare Consultant? Nick smiled. I'd say that's a fancy title for nanny. You would have full authority over the princess's schedule and care. You would report directly to me, and you would be compensated accordingly. Can I bring Rosa to the palace? She'd love to have a friend, and Lyra might benefit from having another child around. Elsa considered this breach of protocol, then looked at her daughter, finally peaceful in her arms. Yes. 3 months later, the palace was transformed. Princess Lyra had a friend in Rosa, a mentor in Nick, and a mother who had learned that ruling an empire didn't mean sacrificing everything else. Nick had taught Elsa that humans possess something no amount of technology or power could replicate. The simple wisdom of understanding that children, whether human or Zentari, needed the same things. Love, patience, and someone who saw their pain instead of just their behavior. The Zentari nobles still whispered, but now they whispered about how the human janitor had succeeded where the greatest minds in the empire had failed, and Queen Elsa, youngest ruler in history, had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the answers to impossible problems came from the most unexpected places, and sometimes strength meant asking for help.